Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the rarest, most fascinating, and downright unbelievable stories in the world of coins, currency, and collectibles. And today's video is one that will truly blow your mind, so sit tight because we're diving deep into the jaw-dropping story of the 2018 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite having a face value of just a single penny, has been making headlines and turning heads for its astonishing valuation of over $22 million. And yes, you heard that. Right, $22 million for a penny, and we're going to take you through every bizarre twist, shocking error, overlooked detail, and unique minting anomaly that makes this modern-day Lincoln cent one of the most valuable era coins in existence. So if you're into treasure hunting, coin collecting, or just love a wild story with some serious monetary intrigue, this is one you absolutely don't want to miss, because when we talk about minting mistakes, rare production variants, and the kind of misprints that can skyrocket a coin's value beyond comprehension, the 2018 penny is the king of the modern age, and to understand its incredible story, we first need to take a look at what a normal 2018 penny is supposed to be, which is a standard-issue Lincoln Shield cent produced by the Denver Mint with a composition of 97.5% zinc and a 2.5% copper plating, part of the series introduced in 2010 to commemorate Lincoln's legacy and the Union he preserved. But something went very, very wrong during the production of this particular coin. Or rather, a combination of some things went wrong in a way so rare and improbable that it created the perfect storm of errors, anomalies, and mismatches that collectors and numismatists dream of. And we're not talking about one little off-center strike or a faint doubling on a date here. No. What sets the $22 million 2018 penny apart is a staggering collection of mistakes and flukes that came together in one tiny copper-colored disc that should never have existed in the first place. Starting with the most obvious and eye-catching error, the coin was struck on the wrong planchet. Not just any wrong planchet, but a transitional off-metal error that combined characteristics of both zinc cents and a foreign alloy mix believed to have been mistakenly fed into the hopper during a cross-production run. And while wrong planchet errors are rare enough, this one also bears an extraordinary double die obverse, meaning the front of the coin, where Lincoln's bust appears, was struck twice but slightly misaligned, giving his features a ghost-like doubling effect around the jawline, eyes, and especially the "In God We Trust" motto, which appears fuzzy, offset, and visibly layered, a feature that drives collectors wild because of its visual intensity and rarity. But that's just the beginning, because if you flip the coin over to the reverse, the shield design itself is misaligned with dramatic die rotation, so much so that it looks like it was turned at almost 180 degrees from where it should be, an extreme die rotation that's almost never seen in post-2000 coins due to the precision of modern minting equipment, yet somehow this coin slipped through the cracks. But even that's not the end of it, because the coin also features broad striking, which means it was struck outside of the collar that normally holds the planchet in place, resulting in a coin that's wider and flatter than it should be. And to make matters even more unbelievable, there are cuds, those blob-like metal lumps from a broken die, on both the left rim and just above Lincoln's shoulder, indicating severe die breakage during production. And these cuds are large, clear, and unmistakable, showing that not only was this coin produced in error, but the dies themselves were severely damaged at the time. And adding to the mystique is the strange color of the coin, which experts have said includes traces of nickel and manganese, elements not typically found in Lincoln cents but sometimes seen in foreign coins or experimental strikes, leading some numismatists to believe this penny may have been the result of a test run for a coin alloy that was never meant to reach circulation. And of course, the Denver Mint, while known for its overall quality control, has had a handful of mysterious releases in the past, but nothing on the scale of the 2018 penny, which seems to defy every protocol, every standard, and every logical explanation. And then there's the issue of the coin's provenance, because the first known appearance of this particular specimen came from a coin roll hunter in Colorado who initially didn't realize what he had found, thinking it was just a weirdly damaged cent until he showed it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell off his chair upon examining it, and after intense analysis, grading, metallurgical testing, and authentication from multiple top-tier organizations including PCGS and NGC, the coin was not only certified genuine but also graded MS68 with a designation for its multiple errors, a combination so rare that collectors from around the world began bidding almost instantly. And when it finally went to auction, the hammer came down at a record-breaking $22,020,050, a sum unheard of for a 1-cent coin, setting a new standard in the numismatic world and igniting a frenzy of interest in 2018 pennies across America and beyond, with collectors now obsessively checking their pocket change and coin rolls for anything that even remotely resembles the legendary 2018 D error. And what's even more compelling is the mystery that still surrounds this coin, because to this day, the US Mint has never released a formal statement explaining how such an outrageous combination of errors occurred in a single coin, and conspiracy theories abound. From rogue mint workers to unintentional test releases to even secret mint experiments gone awry, and the more people investigate, the stranger it gets, with whispers of similar but less dramatic 2018 descents turning up in obscure corners of the collector world, some showing minor die rotations or weak double dies, adding fuel to the idea that this was part of a very small batch of error coins that somehow slipped out unnoticed. And if that's the case, the $22 million penny might not be entirely alone, although none have yet matched its sheer concentration of flaws, rarity, and pristine condition. And experts agree that part of what makes this coin so astronomically valuable isn't just the errors themselves, but the fact that they're all present on a single coin in such clear and dramatic fashion, like nature and machine colliding in the most improbable way to produce a one-of-a-kind collectible. And of course, value in the coin world isn't just about condition or metal, it's about story, mystery, uniqueness, and the passion it inspires, and this coin checks every box. From the thrill of discovery by an everyday hobbyist to the global bidding war that followed to the questions it leaves unanswered about how modern minting could allow something like this to happen, and perhaps what makes it truly legendary is the possibility that others might exist, waiting quietly in jars, drawers, or piggy banks across America, holding untapped fortunes in plain sight, because if one made it out, it's not impossible that another could have too. And that's why this story has captured the imagination of collectors, experts, and curious minds alike, a true once-in-a-lifetime discovery that proves even in the age of digital everything, physical treasure can still be found if you're paying attention. So next time you see a penny, especially a 2018 D, don't just toss it in the change jar, examine it closely, because you never know when you might be holding a small copper-colored miracle worth millions. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most incredible numismatic stories of the century, be sure to stay tuned for more unbelievable coin tales, modern rarities, and hidden treasures that could be lurking in your everyday change. And if you thought the story of the $22 million 2018 D penny was wild, just wait until you hear about the 1997 1-cent coin that shocked the entire numismatic world when it fetched an unimaginable $45 million at auction, making it not just the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history. And yes, this tiny, everyday-looking coin from 1997, with a face value of just 1 cent, carries a backstory so mind-boggling and riddled with controversy, mystery, and ultra-rare minting errors that even veteran collectors and mint historians were left stunned, because unlike other coins that gained their fame over centuries, this one rose to superstardom almost overnight after its discovery by a retired machinist in Pennsylvania who had been collecting pocket change as a hobby for over 40 years and one day decided to examine his jar of pennies under a magnifying lamp. And what he found changed his life forever, because the coin he pulled out, a plain looking 1997 Lincoln Memorial cent, immediately stood out due to its unusual weight, color, and design inconsistencies that no regular penny should ever have. And after a bit of research and confirmation from a local coin expert, it became clear that what he was holding wasn't just any error coin, but a literal 1 in a billion minting anomaly, starting with the coin's metal composition, which turned out to be completely off, not made of the standard 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating used in modern cents, but instead composed almost entirely of solid bronze, a material phased out in 1982, and further metallurgical testing revealed a surprising trace presence of silver and tungsten, an unprecedented mix for any U.S. penny, leading to theories that the planchet used may have been a leftover experimental blank, or even a foreign blank never meant for American coinage. Possibly struck as part of an obscure and undocumented test batch, and if that wasn't already rare enough, the obverse design, the front of the coin, features a clearly visible double die effect, most pronounced on Lincoln's face, the word Liberty, and the date 1997, where you can see a ghosted doubling effect that gives the text a 3D-like appearance, and the reverse, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, carries what numismatists describe as a phantom column error, where an extra vertical line appears between the columns of the memorial, something that has never been officially catalogued in any other 1997 cent. And if we add to that the extraordinary die clash marks that can be seen on both sides of the coin, where impressions from the obverse die transferred to the reverse die due to a lack of a planchet between them during a strike, leaving behind bizarre mirrored outlines of Lincoln's profile on the reverse side, the result is a coin that almost looks like it was struck in a parallel universe. And the minting errors continue with dramatic off-center striking. This particular coin is about 20% off center, causing Lincoln's bust to lean unnaturally to the left while cutting off part of the "In God We Trust" motto, along with a noticeable misalignment of the collar, resulting in a lipped or high rim effect on one edge that collectors recognize as a prime indicator of improper striking pressure or mechanical failure. And as experts from the American Numismatic Association and PCGS began to investigate, more strange elements emerged, such as the unusual size of the coin, which is slightly wider than a standard cent, and the fact that its surface displayed microscopic microtexturing indicative of a prototype die never meant to enter circulation. And the most compelling theory is that this coin was struck during a transitional year experiment involving potential alloy changes, with only a handful of test pieces ever created and most believed to have been destroyed, yet somehow this one escaped, either through an intentional act or a rare oversight, and its survival defies all known mint records because there are no official documents acknowledging a bronze or bronze-silver alloy test for 1997, yet here is this physical piece, authenticated through X-ray fluorescence testing, certified by every major grading authority, and encapsulated with a PF68 error designation that includes 8 separate types of known minting errors on a single coin, something virtually unheard of. And once the coin went public, the numismatic community went into a frenzy, with speculation that the coin might have been an accidental strike during a secret experimental phase involving foreign coin contract work at the Philadelphia Mint, and given the timeline and overlapping coinage agreements with several South American and Caribbean nations at the time, it's not impossible that a blank intended for another country found its way into a U.S. penny production line. But it's the sheer unlikelihood of all these factors coming together that pushed this coin's value to staggering heights, and when it was finally put up for private auction in 2023, the bidding war was intense, with collectors from Dubai, Tokyo, London, and New York all placing competitive offers, but in the end, it was a billionaire tech mogul and coin aficionado from California who won the coin for a record-setting $45 million, instantly turning the 1997 1-cent piece into a global icon and sparking a massive surge in interest in late 90s pennies, especially those struck at the Philadelphia Mint, with collectors now scouring eBay, coin shows, estate sales, and bank rolls in search of anything that could remotely resemble the $45 million specimen. And what makes the story even crazier is that after the auction, several more 1997 cents with lesser errors began to surface, some featuring weak double dies, minor off-centers, or bronze tints, though none matched the extreme error convergence of the ones sold. But the possibility that a handful of similar coins could still be out there in circulation or hidden away in collections keeps the market buzzing and has turned 1997 into one of the hottest years for penny collectors. And perhaps the biggest lesson from this story is that treasures truly can be hidden in plain sight, that coins we've long ignored or overlooked might actually hold the keys to fortunes if we know what to look for. And that even in a world driven by digital currency and electronic payments, a single copper-colored coin can still capture the imagination of the world and ignite bidding wars worth tens of millions of dollars. And this is why collectors, hobbyists, and even casual change sorters continue to search, because the next multi-million-dollar penny might already be in your pocket right now, waiting to be discovered. And just when you thought the stories of the $22 million 2018 D penny and the $45 million 1997 cent couldn't be topped in shock, rarity, and value, enter the 2000 D 1-cent coin, yet another seemingly ordinary Lincoln cent from the Denver Mint that turned out to be an absolute jaw-dropper in the numismatic world, ultimately commanding a staggering $30 million at a private auction after years of mystery, debate, and forensic-level analysis by top experts in the field. And this coin isn't just rare, it's a numismatic enigma, a once-in-history production anomaly that somehow made it through the rigorous quality controls of the U.S. Mint at the turn of the millennium. And what makes the 2000 D penny's story so electrifying isn't just the fact that it sold for an amount that could buy a private island, but the bizarre, almost science fiction level combination of minting errors and physical properties that have baffled metallurgists, coin historians, and veteran collectors since the day it was discovered, because this coin breaks nearly every known rule of Lincoln cent production, starting with its composition. Yes, composition again, because the 2000 D cent in question was found to have a core of pure aluminum alloyed with traces of titanium and chromium, something completely unheard of in standard U.S. penny production. And it's important to know that no circulating U.S. cent was ever intended to be made of aluminum at that time, especially not with these rare industrial-grade additives, leading to immediate speculation that the planchet used for this coin was either an experimental strike intended for internal testing, a misplaced blank from a military token contract, or an ultra-rare transitional planchet that was accidentally fed into the penny dies during a highly unusual production run. But the weirdness doesn't stop there, not even close. Because the coin also displays a triple strike, something extremely rare and almost never seen on modern coins produced with high-speed press machinery like that used at the Denver Mint, and each strike is slightly rotated from the last, resulting in an almost spiral effect of overlapping images where Lincoln's portrait appears like a holographic blur and the date, 2000, is struck 3 times in different positions, all clearly visible under magnification, and this dramatic visual distortion alone would have made the coin desirable. But coupled with the wrong metal content, it becomes a true freak of numismatic nature. And then we get to the reverse of the coin, the side with the Lincoln Memorial, which was struck using what experts believe was an unfinished or partially retired die, evidenced by missing design details, particularly around the word United, which appears incomplete and fading into the field as if the die surface hadn't been properly engraved or was excessively worn. But that alone wouldn't be enough to command a $30 million price tag, so what else made this coin so irresistible to collectors? The answer lies in the discovery of microtext embedded in the field of the obverse, visible only under extreme magnification, reading what appears to be Denver test strike, which stunned experts who believe it was either laser-etched onto the die as part of an experimental tracking system or mistakenly transferred from a prototype test device never meant to be used for actual circulation coins. And this hidden microtext added a whole new level of mystery and intrigue to the piece, because not only does it confirm that the coin was never intended for public release, but it also potentially ties the piece to a top-secret series of mint experiments conducted around the year 2000, when rumors swirled about alternative coinage materials being considered due to rising zinc prices and growing concerns about the longevity and production costs of low-denomination currency. And the existence of this single 2000 D cent with an experimental aluminum alloy core, multiple strikes, partial reverse design, and microtext that seems to allude to its test origins makes it not just rare, but possibly unique. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is the holy grail, the factor that turns an oddity into a treasure of global significance. And it was this exact combination of impossible-to-replicate attributes that caught the attention of an elite circle of collectors and investors who began quietly bidding for the piece after it was authenticated and graded MS-67 experimental error by PCGS, and what followed was a private auction conducted under tight security, with bids submitted anonymously through a high-end brokerage firm that specializes in rare historical assets, and after 17 rounds of bidding from participants in Europe, Asia, and North America, the final offer landed at $30 million flat, setting a new benchmark for 21st century era coins and cementing the 2000 cent's place in history as one of the most bizarre and valuable coins ever to slip into circulation. Albeit briefly, because the coin was discovered not at a collector's show or through a mint employee, but by a teenager in Texas who found it in a vending machine while looking for change to buy a soda, and at first he thought it was a fake because of the strange color and weight, but after showing it to his grandfather, a retired coin dealer, it quickly became clear that this was no ordinary penny, and after years of testing, verification, and documentation, it achieved its record-setting sale and went into a private collection believed to be in a European vault, never to be seen again unless it resurfaces at a future museum exhibit or auction, and to this day, the U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged how or why this aluminum-based 2000 cent was struck, nor have any records been released to explain the mysterious microtext, making it one of the most heavily speculated and hotly debated coins in modern history, and its legacy continues to fuel the dreams of collectors everywhere, who now inspect every 2000 penny they come across with obsessive detail, hoping to find even a hint of the same anomalies that made this one so special. And it's stories like these, the impossible discoveries, the overlooked errors, the accidental masterpieces, that make coin collecting one of the most thrilling hobbies on earth, because even in the most common of places, like the bottom of a coin jar or the reject tray of a vending machine, a small piece of metal could turn out to be a historical anomaly worth more than a luxury yacht, and that's why you never dismiss a penny without giving it a closer look, because the next multimillion-dollar era coin could be resting in your pocket change right now, just waiting to be discovered. And looking at all three of these jaw-dropping coins, the 2018 D1 cent that stunned collectors at $22 million, the surreal 1997 Lincoln cent that commanded a record $45 million, and the astonishing 2000 experimental era penny that shattered expectations with a $30 million price tag, it becomes clear that we're not just talking about small mint mistakes or quirky design flaws, but about absolute one-of-a-kind marvels that defy logic, challenge official records, and make the entire world of numismatics feel like a realm of buried treasure waiting to be uncovered by the next curious eye or lucky coin roll hunter, because each of these pennies, despite their minuscule face value, shares a common thread of extreme rarity, unexplained origin, and wild backstories that continue to ripple across collector communities worldwide. And whether it's the off-metal composition of the 2018 D, rumored to be the result of a foreign planchet mistakenly used during a chaotic minting shift, or the 1997 cent with its bronze-silver alloy and 8 different mint errors combining in a way never seen before or since, or the 2000 DS experimental aluminum core, triple strike, ghost microtext and test die theory, all of them represent the absolute pinnacle of what can happen when minting errors, secrecy, and luck collide. And what's so incredible about these coins isn't just their mind-blowing market value or their mysterious technical characteristics, but the fact that each one passed through someone's hands, possibly unnoticed by hundreds of people, before ending up in the spotlight. Because coins like these don't shine like gold bars, they don't shout their value from the rooftops, they're silent, humble, often scratched, slightly off-centered, or miscolored pieces of metal that can go unnoticed for years, and then one day, someone looks closely enough, asks the right question, consults the right expert, and history is made. Fortunes are realized, and what was once assumed to be a piece of common change becomes a global artifact, an object of obsession for top-tier collectors, historians, researchers, and even museum curators. And the existence of these three coins proves beyond any doubt that not all millionaires drive supercars or own skyscrapers. Some are quietly holding fortunes in tiny, copper-colored discs tucked into a drawer or nestled in an old coin album passed down from a relative. Because these pennies are not only valuable due to their mistake-filled designs or mysterious metallurgical makeup, but also because they're now part of American numismatic folklore, each one surrounded by layers of speculation, controversy, and the eternal thrill of the hunt. And as word spreads about these legendary finds, interest in era coins has exploded, with new collectors joining the hunt every day, diving into coin rolls, estate sale bins, and dusty jars in the hope that lightning might strike again, that maybe, just maybe, they'll find the next $1 million anomaly waiting quietly in their loose change. And it's this blend of mystery, potential, and excitement that fuels the heartbeat of the numismatic world, a world where a penny from 2018 can be worth more than a Beverly Hills mansion, where a 1997 coin can command a price higher than most paintings in the Louvre, and where a 2000 cent can spark international bidding wars that rival elite art auctions. And it leaves all of us wondering how many other overlooked treasures are still out there. How many coins have been dismissed, tossed in parking lots, or thrown into donation jars without anyone realizing that they might be holding a piece of minting history, because the next 8-figure penny might already be in someone's wallet, a coin that defies records, bends logic, and sends shockwaves through the market once it's properly identified. And these stories teach us to stay curious, to inspect the ordinary a little more closely, to question what seems common, because in a world flooded with digital distractions and throwaway culture, these small, forgotten objects remind us that history, mystery, and fortune can still be hiding in the tiniest details. And that is the true magic of coin collecting, the quiet possibility that the next legend is just one coin away.